Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Iblis Manifestations Podcast. This channel features lengthy off-limits conversations with various different artists and entrepreneurs, predominantly from the underground metal scene. We take deep dives into the topics of life, music, spirituality, and take insight from a variety of thought-provoking perspectives from personalities who you don't often hear from in a mainstream settings. I am your host, Cheyenne, and I was originally born and raised in Iran and currently reside in the UK. I am the frontman and founding member of the black death metal band Trivex, who have been active since 2009. The band originally started in the Islamic Republic of Iran, where such type of music is banned as well as a punishable offense. You can check the band's pages for any updates on tour dates as well as new music. I am also a personal trainer and an online fitness coach who specializes in people achieving the best versions of themselves physically and mentally. Having been someone who was once extremely out of shape and overweight, I find it to be my duty to be able to pass on the information and knowledge which I've gained to help others achieve the same transformation. The Iblis Manifestations Podcast also features a variety of solo episodes where I discuss personal experiences and anecdotes in a very candid fashion, covering everything from mental health, spirituality, philosophy, and even paranormal experiences. This is the Iblis Manifestations Podcast. To support it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and visit the link in the descriptions.
It's great talking to you, Cheyenne, really. And best of luck to your endeavors with this podcast. I think it's a great initiative.
You're my favorite person to talk to for interviews and stuff. So I love what you're espousing out here. I love the knowledge and the perspectives that you're curating through this, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
As I told you, it was one of the most interesting interviews I've ever had, because we talk a lot more things than just music, and I really appreciated that.
I respect you deeply, and it's an honor to be here.
And friends, remember as always, better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. Enjoy the podcast.
Did he play in that show or with the tribute for Battery, or was that someone else?
No, so Runa did, the guitarist from Aura Noir. So it was basically Runa doing the guitars,
Okay.
and then I think, was it Ivar from Enslaved doing the other guitars? And Apollyon from Aura Noir, he was obviously doing the bass, but vocals on a couple of the tracks, and he fucking nailed it. And then you had Bard Ethan Faust doing the drums for it as well, and then they had obviously sort of changing vocalists. It was fucking killer, man.
That concert, it's like one of the I didn't watch a lot live concerts at some time, but Jesus Christ, that one was pretty intense. Everything was really spot on, like Gull of the vocals, and also your buddy, I think from. What is it, One Tail, One Head?
Yeah, Bjorn. Yeah. He went up and did one.
He fucking killed the vocals.
He did.
He killed the vocals. Then you also had Eric from Britain. Oh, that was just fucking intense. So yeah, it was it was an amazing tribute. Were you actually on that concert?
Yeah. I was sat right there with my friends, Alex and Ida and Soli, the bass player from Trivex. We were all sat there, and obviously with Alex and Ida, they're Swedish people, so they're already uber passionate about what's going on, because Bathory is kind of like pride of Sweden, or at least I think it should be if it's not, And yeah, it was just really cool watching it, man. And it's kind of like that. You never think you're gonna hear those songs live, but to hear it in that context, because the venue was one of the most impressive fucking things I've ever seen. It was at the Girgehallen in Bergen, Norway, and it's this giant fucking theater with crazy acoustics, and it goes all the way up. And to see Bathory songs on a stage like that with actual pyrotechnics and everything, I was just like, this is straight out of the fucking dreams, you know? It's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. Like, I think I rewatched it like two or three times, like once in gym, like the entire concert. It was just like amazing. They really did an outstanding job with performance.
It's funny, I purposely haven't watched the videos back, and sometimes I do this because I don't want to rewrite the memory. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I thankfully, like, unfortunately, I don't have that luxury, so I'm just gonna stick with what I have.
Yeah. No, it's cool, man. It's cool, and yeah, and I guess the thing is as well, because that's the thing as well. Our mutual friend Kyle was also there, you know, so I got to see those guys. Yeah. We ended up doing a pretty, you know, turned out to be a pretty killer fucking episode. Okay, yeah, sure. Did you like how I opened the questions on that
one? Straight to the point. Yeah, Kyle should have just answered yes.
Yeah, it's funny. Afterwards we were kind of joking about that, you know, or that's and then like I was saying to him, you know, like I ask you, are you a Nazi? And he says no. And then I say, no, but you are a Nazi. And then that's what he was joking, you know, it's because it's like, that's what some of those people are like. But I think it's important to have that kind of discourse. You know, people just make up their own fucking minds about stuff. And that's one benefits of these podcasts is you get to have long form of conversations about stuff and actually talk about shit that most people make presumptions about, which I think is really fucking annoying, to be honest with you, when they do that. And they especially do it in the metal scene. And it's like, you know, that's why it's important to have some of these conversations sometimes. Sometimes you wish you never had to have them, but, you know, it's not the way things are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, the entire thing, like, I kind of embraced that approach that, like, 99.9% of black metal bands in general, like, are filled with pussies. So, like...
It's true.
Like, so at the end of the day, they're all, like, I don't know, I wasn't born in that period. I'm born in 1996, but, like, from what I've seen in that period when black metal was originating, these dudes were like completely unapologetic. 95% of them didn't even believe in that, but they just didn't care. And I kind of wish the entire thing was like that, because like it seems like almost contradictory. Like, if you're gonna sing about all of these like wicked and evil things, you're gonna now draw the line, and you're gonna be like, yeah, we sing about killing and Satan and everything like that, but you know that Hitler guy, he's a really, really bad person. Like, it's just so.
I mean,
like,
the politicization of it to begin with is kind of weird, you know. I mean, I don't think, like, you say that, and even in the 90s, I don't think there were that many like NSBM bands, you know. And personally, it's never something. No, it just wasn't a part of it at all. Like, maybe every now and then they would toy with it, you know. I mean, Euronymous was actively sending money to China because he believed he wanted to support communism. Now, whether again, even that you don't know if he actually meant it or not. And I think it's only like a modern thing, which has more to do with, I think, modern culture than actual black metal. And I think I think it's just a reflection of the modern current world that's just bled into our world, you know. And fair enough. Listen, you know, if you're someone who acts violently towards other people for reasons that are out of those people's control, you know, like let's say, i.e., you know, what their race is, where they come from and stuff, that's a pretty cunty fucking thing to do. But I don't actually know many people even who do that, especially within this genre, because they're just like, black metal people are mostly introvert, shy kids who just, you know, they have difficulty with social skills, you know, let alone actually go out and, you know, pick a fight with someone based on, I don't know, their ethnicity, I suppose. Maybe I'm being naive here. I just never experienced it. Yeah.
No, it's not just that. But I mean, like, exactly kind of what you mentioned. Like, even like in the 90s, like, as you said yourself, when like really no one was into that. But my point in saying the previous thing was that it was just unapologetic. Like, you wouldn't expect Dead from Mayhem to explain his thoughts. Like, you just wouldn't expect that. You wouldn't expect Euronymous to explain why he's supporting the CCP. Like, so in my opinion, I just find it like extremely cliche when like you are into a genre of music which is inherently evil. So what's the point in like like trying to explain yourself. Like, I get it if you're like on a very, very big stage and you have like a very big promoter and everything like that, and then kind of like you're bleeding into the mainstream whether you like it or not. But at the end of the day, if you're like sticking to this like old school thing, who gives a shit like what other people think? Like, and if you do believe it or don't believe it, like at the end of the day, you're into a very unapologetic genre of music. But kind of as you said yourself, the modern world has affected it one way or another. And like, just let's be real, it's not even just black metal or metal in general. Like, Death Row Records in hip hop was just a period of time and something you don't find like anymore. And the people who signed for Death Row Records were legitimate killers. And you don't like, sure, you have some of that in hip hop, and I know it because I do listen to hip hop. But now it's kind of like the same thing. Mostly like introverted kids who just want to talk about their feelings. So the same thing has happened to black metal, and I kind of pity it. Not because I'm fond of dipshits or whatever, but I just kind of like it when people are unapologetic. Like it doesn't really matter what you're unapologetic about. It's just kind of like you're generally speaking showing to the world who you truly are, and you aren't trying to change because of X, Y, and Z factor. So I kind of wish black metal was like that. Unfortunately, it really isn't. Kyle was a stand-up example, not because I think he's an asshole or anything like that, but because he tried to explain himself like in the, how should you say, in the most normal circumstance imaginable. But then again, he just kind of said to himself, like, I just don't even care what people think. And that's exactly how it should be. It's kind of like, it's kind of like a shame, but it is what it is. I think I'm also tend to believe that black metal is a genre that existed, and it does still exist. And kind of the reason why we appreciated it is long gone. The people who still kind of stick to that mentality and attitude are few and far in between. I mean, let's be real. When I got into black metal, I didn't get into it because they sang about sunshine and flowers and how the world is so nice. I got into it because they burned fucking churches and because they were hardcore and they killed people. And when you're like a 17-year-old amped up kid on like testosterone and whatever, like that's what you're into. The same reason I assume like kids from like Brooklyn or whatever got into like gangster rap. So
sure.
I appreciate that and I kind of like that, but at the end of the day, I think that period is now long gone, and I think it's not coming back. And I think we're going to witness something new, because at the end of the day, black metal was a counterculture movement in the 90s, which was a product of the 90s. So we're probably going to get a product of the 2000 somethings. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but kind of like we revel in what happened and kind of enjoy and appreciate the history and the culture, but you just kind of have to embrace it what it is now, and chances are it's probably not going to be what we wanted it to be.
You know, I think you're very right in that there's a big part of that that's probably gone at the moment. But I also do think that there are legitimate new revolutionary artists. I just think that it's very few and far between. And frankly, I just blame the seed oils for that.
Yeah.
But jokes aside, I think that I think that it's got a lot more to do with I think people are accustomed to living through their screens as opposed to living with things that are right in front of them. You kind of lost the smell and the taste, and all you have in terms of life experience is now visuals, and these are visuals without consequences as well. That's why people feel like they can just fucking run their mouths online without any kind of consequences nowadays, and that's something that I see now and then, and usually it's nothing that's even worthy of really engaging or interacting with, but it's a symptom of our times, and I think that when it comes to black metal, it's kind of funny you mentioned this. Like, I really want to defend it, and I really want to say that, oh yeah, the movement is still strong. I think that spirit exists in people, that spirit of real rebellion, not giving a fuck what anyone thinks about what you think, and I really liked what you said, that you just appreciate people who take a bold stance on things and they back it up. Regardless of what that stance actually is, like, I don't care like where that might sit on the political aisle, although I think that politics and black metal aren't really maybe I'm naive for thinking this, but I don't think they're compatible to begin with. I think it's a little bit bigger than that, or at least maybe I never got into it that way, you know. But I do also think that, like you said, 99.9% of the people who are in this genre, who listen to this music, are weak and fragile and insecure. And sometimes there's a part of me that makes me want to distance myself from it because of that, just because I don't like to be surrounded by losers. But on the other hand, I think that there's an opportunity there to maybe just show people a better way of being. You know, like, hey, you know, you got that leather back patch on your back. That doesn't make you a hard person. But you know what does? Bench pressing, taking cold showers, or jujitsu, and all of these things. And I think that's the kind of position that I find myself in regularly, is interacting with a scene that I'm very critical of, but rather than just saying it's shit for the sake of it, at least offering it something in response. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it boils down to kind of what I mentioned previously, like what kind of a person you are and kind of how do you want to approach a situation. Like I said a couple of moments ago, I just realized that I'm a hater, and I'm not. And I like jokes and like completely honest. I'm not a role model. And that's something which I think most people are not. But unfortunately, I think for whatever reason, everyone has this Messiah complex where they want to be portrayed as a role model, and I just find that incredibly like irritating. And I'm gonna, generally speaking, at the end of the day, I've kind of taken this approach with people, and that is that, first of all, I hate it when people are impolite. That's just for me unacceptable. So I don't care how much I might dislike you. I'm not gonna be disrespectful unless that is warranted. So if someone approaches me or like, generally speaking, asks for advice, I'm never going to be that big of an asshole and just brush them off. I'm always going to try to help them because that's the kind of person I am. And I think it's also polite to brush people off when they have a problem. Like if someone trips down the street, you aren't going to just look at them and just like, oh, well, you're lost. You're going to try to lift them up. So I think the same thing can be said like mentally and potentially spiritually, but at the end of the day, it's not my role to be the Messiah of the world. So I know people who can be a great example, and who I personally, if I had children, that I would want my children to look up to, or other people's children, but I'm not in the role of helping other people. And I think that should be left with people who truly have something to offer and who truly have something to basically aspire people to do. Because like one of the worst things that you can do is be a bad role model. And when it comes to people within black metal, I think I think you're right on the money. They have a lot of this potential. I mean, for me personally, because I got into black metal, I think when I was like 15, 16. So for me, I viewed it as like a completely different perspective. I viewed it as a very empowering music. Like, you know, obviously the big chant concept, very like life asserting, no matter like how depressing, like melancholic it might have been. I just had a different approach to it and a different potential. And I know that there are people who view it like I do, but at the end of the day, not everyone does. And some people view it in a completely opposite sense, and they go a completely opposite route. And I think if you kind of just change your perspective on it, it can be viewed and kind of approached from a very like positive, life asserting position. But that's not for me to show to people. As I said, like I think the fundamentals are there. I think it can be useful. I think it can be very life asserting, but it's up to the person to decide that it should be viewed as that. It's kind of like, I think this is the kind of like to harbor back on this Messiah complex. I think everyone wants to. I think this Messiah complex does not come from a good-hearted position. Meaning, when I see that people trying to offer their help and whatever, I don't think they do that because they truly want to help the other person. I just believe that they tend to do that because they want to show how they're better than everyone else. And that's a very malicious way of doing things. You aren't actually helping people because you want to see them get better. You're helping people because you want to portray yourself as if you are on some sort of a pedestal above them.
So you think it's some form of narcissism? Yeah, I think it's actually, that does make sense. And there's obviously a lot of characters like that on social media that you do see, you know. I mean, personally, I thought you were a big fan of Solbra, but I don't know, maybe I just misjudged you. No. But jokes aside, I think that you're absolutely right. And I think that it's got more to do with... you know, a lot of people, you see this a lot in religious clerics as well, that they are always trying to shove this holier-than-thou thing down other people's throats, and part of this is because they're trying to mask their own insecurities. So by appearing as someone who is, I guess, quote-unquote helping others, or at least appearing in a way that they're helping others, then that masks their own imperfections, you know, that masks them being an absolute piece of shit in their private life or how they are as a person in general. But one thing that I will also say is that there's still room to help people, but the way to do it is to lead by example. Yeah. And I think that, and sometimes as well, you will help people without even realizing that you are doing it. It's only 6 months later when someone just shows up in your messages and it's like, oh yeah, you know, when you made that post on so and so date, since that day I've been going to and they're not even like a client, but then they've just gone and, you know, helped themselves and figured their own thing out. And I know you're saying that you were saying that you're a hater, you know, and you're not in the business of helping people. You are technically in the business of helping people, at least from a coaching position as well, or at least that's how I personally look at it. You know, when I'm doing it, is from the place of helping, but also what I've tried to do is draw a line in the sand and say, I'm only doing this if you're really interested in doing it and you're willing to dedicate time to it, which, by the way, I kind of learned that a little bit from some of our conversations before as well, because you can't force people to fucking want to help themselves and want to pick themselves up. It's only that the tools are there for those who are wanting to make a positive change.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not oblivious. I obviously know, no matter how narcissistic this is going to sound, I know my worth, and I know how many people that I have helped, because exactly through the examples which you listed yourself, like the amount of messages that I got predominantly, like in the past when I was more active, and that like you don't view all of those things kind of like as in like a big picture essence. Like you don't view a post or like something you write as helping someone like on a different continent or whatever. So obviously that's something I obviously enjoy quite a lot. But when I said like I'm not a messiah, meaning that's not I'm not trying to portray myself as if I know all the answers in the universe and that I can help everyone in every single situation. And there are ways that I know I can help people. I can help someone lose body fat. I can help someone get stronger, build muscle and everything like that. But you see nowadays this messiah complex like transcending and like being all omnipresent, where people are pretending they can help in every single instance of life possible, including medical issues, which I think is baffling. Obviously, you can know like through weightlifting and bodybuilding and everything like that, you learn quite a lot about the human body and kind of how it operates. But you like once you actually start offering medical advice, I think that's completely oblivious. So raw. So kind of to go back to that tangent of like being a hater, like I'm as you said yourself, like my goal isn't to like preach to people how they should fix their life or whatever. Like if you come to me and ask help, I'm generally going to do my best. But I'm not going to be that kind of a narcissist and say that I have all the answers in the universe. And this is kind of like something which I see very often being portrayed, which is, I think, absolutely disgusting. Because.
So can you make some examples of that? So let's say when you're saying that people are being this all-encompassing kind of a life advisor to others, what are some examples of that?
Well, how many times have you scrolled today on Instagram and saw a life coach giving advice on life and how to be happy, and that person looked nothing like you would ever want to be like? I get that like every single day. A skinny kid talking about how to build your bench press. A guy in a rented G-Wagon talking about how to make money. Some for the sake of a better word, some fucking loser telling me how to be happy. Like, you don't even embody your own teachings. Like, one thing I never understood about people is like, how do you not have a little bit of like self-consciousness and kind of like that imposter syndrome? Like, I've been coaching people, I've been lifting weights for 10 years. I've been coaching people for like 6 or 5 or whatever. I can't really remember. I still, like, up until today, I get the imposter syndrome because I model my work based on the very best intentions. So like, when I see myself like giving coaching advice, and one of my best friends just recently squatted like, what is that, like 800 pounds or so. So, and he benched like 500, like it's like an empty bar, and you're trying to kind of almost present yourself as a bigger authority than him. How do you not get an imposter syndrome? So, and in the same light, I don't understand like these individuals, like the dude talking about money in a rented G-Wagon, the dude who just looks like a normal person. Like, there is nothing wrong about being a normal person, but once you portray yourself as an authority figure that you're above everyone else, that automatically means that you're not normal. So how do you not have the imposter syndrome that you're just selling basically snake oil for the sake of a better word? And like, how does that never click to you? Like, how do you not have any shame? And that's kind of like, again, going back to that tangent of being a hater, I just don't think that I'm better than most people. And I don't want to pretend that I can help everyone else. And if my work does really help someone, that's great. Obviously, that's obviously a great reward in and of itself. But I just don't want to be viewed as someone who has all of the answers in the universe. And I think that's something that most people should actually strive to. Also, a little bit of humility goes a long way. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
I 100% agree with having humility, and I do at the same time also think that it's good to have confidence in what you are doing, but that confidence shouldn't be something that's just built on a false image of yourself, but rather just based on facts and results more than anything. And I think that's probably what you're talking about, is that a lot of people are online espousing their greatness, like you said, of like, oh, if you want to do this, you should just do that, and I don't imagine there's a lot of millionaires who go online and watch reels on Instagram to become to further enrich themselves, basically, so let's just put it that way. There's some value in listening to advice. There's a lot of value in reading self-help books, especially there's one that I read about a year ago, and fuck, now the name escapes me. What a perfect timing. But yeah, that was it's As a Man Thinketh. It's from like 1906, and it is so fucking relevant, man. It's one of like the better books that I've actually come across. It's very simple. It's very short. But it's so relevant to today's world. And basically what it says is that, is that your entire life and everything that you experience are a result of your thoughts. So everything that you experience, everything that you go through, they're a reflection of how you think and how you view things, So let's say if you're someone who's constantly looking and seeking to take shortcuts to get to certain places, that will eventually bleed through elsewhere, and then you will be basically revealed for the fraud that you are. Whereas if you're someone who's actually honest and respectful, and you try to be that way, that the world eventually will reflect the same way back at you. And I absolutely love that. I actually, had a profound impact on myself in a certain way, And I think that there is value in these things, but I think that we're also at a point in time where you really ought to do your own due diligence as to who you're getting advice from. And one thing that I know you and I have talked about before is when you get health advice online from people who just look like shit, and they've got a massive supplement company, and then they've got a whatever that they're trying to sell you, and listen, and maybe this is an area where we kind of differ. When I see people trying, I'm kind of like, good for you, you're hustling, and I like hustlers. I like it when people try, okay? But I also think that you ought to be responsible and be reliable if you're selling fake shit and you've got no way to back up the work that you're doing as well. You know, I think as long as you're able to back it up, there's nothing wrong with, I think, hustling and offering something to the world. But it is absolutely true that I think there's a lot of these motherfuckers that try to take shortcuts, and I think that's kind of that's the gist of what I'm getting from your saying, from that Messiah complex that you're saying, is that people just take shortcuts and don't actually have anything necessarily positive to offer. But what I'll also ask is this, is that, so I'm getting the vibe from everything that you're saying that you're kind of like bringing a lot of your own work internally. So is that kind of part of the reason that maybe you've not been as active online as perhaps you used to be, say, a year or two ago?
Yeah, I mean, there's just like a couple of factors. First of all, I kind of got sick of social media. I even been saying this like years ago. Like, my ideal position would be just to make a ton of money, like enough, I think, and just be completely off social media in its entirety, because I don't really care for it anymore. I think when I originally got on Instagram, and the reason for that is now gone. Basically, I got it to connect with the people that I like and kind of see what they're into and see their day to day. And now you can't do that on social media. Social media has become just basically a casino and a marketplace. So there's that. Like, the purpose of social media has been completely eroded. Second of all, I told you, like, I can't stand the narcissism, the hypocrisy, and everything like that. It's starting to affect me. And third of all, I suppose you can say the main reason is because I've added another source of income, which doesn't allow me basically to spend so much time on social media. So there's that. Obviously, I still coach people. It's just that this kind of shift in priority has allowed me to like hyper focus on who I want to coach, because now those funds are not my main source of income, so I can be more selective and specific. And one of the things which I've kind of started resenting, like maybe in the past year or so, was the fact that I just did not like most of the people. Not most, I'm sorry, that's just incorrect. I did not like a percentage of the people that would sign up for my coaching service, because the crop of the population which would basically sign up for my coaching service, let's say 5 years ago, would be individuals who I had a lot in common with. It's kind of people who maybe listened to the same music, read the same books, had a kind of similar outlook in life, etc. Because 5 years ago, training wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. Obviously, 5 years ago, it was much bigger than 10 years ago, and 10 years ago it was much bigger than 20 years ago, etc. But basically, the population that the pool of clients that I would get got diluted by normies, and the people that never really had anything to do with me. So it kind of made my job, it made me resent my job, which was never the point of it. I love coaching people. I love getting people their results. And I just didn't want to be bothered by people who you have to remind them, like, I don't know, like who are so undisciplined that they can't weigh themselves once a week. That, for me, that's like, I can understand if you don't want to do cardio. I can understand if your diet is becoming difficult, et cetera, et cetera. If you have a billion things and you maybe miss a workout here and there, that's all understandable. That's all human. But like, if you don't have the common decency just to wake up on a Sunday morning and weigh yourself, like, we really don't have anything to talk about. And now this opportunity allowed me to coach only the people that I want to coach, the people that I want to enjoy working with. And also, kind of, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like, the things which are now required to basically be semi-successful on social media, for me at least, are unacceptable. Basically, nowadays, you have to make a clown out of yourself. You have to make teeny shorts. You have to be like super, post super bit-sized content. You just have to clickbait the shit out of people, and that's just not who I am. Like, I don't want to.
That's fair enough.
I don't want to do that. I'm not. Again, it's kind of like, that's not me. I'm not gonna pretend to be something that I'm not. I'm not gonna make like clickbait shitty content and like, this was me 10 years ago and my life was horrible, and then we put like an emoji who is crying. Like, no, you're not gonna get that from me. You're not going to get that from me.
That's funny. Yeah.
So yeah, I shift the priorities, I suppose.
No, that's totally fair enough, man. And listen, I respect the honesty there completely. And I think that, I kind of wish more people actually had that transparency, to be completely honest with you. I think that, first of all, I mean, for me personally, if I ever wanted to make content of that style and then say my life was shit 10 years ago, and it's better now, it would be 100% applicable, but I'd probably just go about it in a different way of how I would structure it, and how the presentation would be done, rather than this, like, a fucking yellow words popping up every fucking, every single word that you say kind of thing, all the Alex Hormozy style of reels and stuff, which from a business standpoint, it has its place, don't get me wrong, but, that's not kind of how I want to find clients, if you will. Most of the clients that I get are generally actually either through this podcast or people who've been following the band, and then there's a smaller portion alongside that, that is just, like you said, quote unquote normies. But what I've kind of put in place, and this is what I found has become really useful, because I experienced exactly what you're saying there, and what I've done is that when they first sign up, there's a kind of like a triage system, and amongst those things is that it says that if you miss 3 checkouts, so the 3 check-ins, I'll give you I'll give you reminders. If you haven't sent them, I'm going to chase you up for it. If it gets to 3, I've chased you up 3 times and you've never sent them, I'm just not going to bother. And if that kind of behavior continues, I'll just refuse to renew the course, basically, so I'll just refuse your payment next time, and this is the thing that I say is that, you can't just fucking throw money at a coach or someone and then just expect for it to work out for you. You have to put in the fucking work. The coach's job is to basically guide you in the right direction, and that's also something that takes time as well. I really, like, what I don't understand is people who just want like a month-long program. You're not going to get shit in 1 month, especially if this is not already, like, hypothetically speaking, you're someone who wants to lose weight, you're someone who wants to get in shape, you want to go on a diet, all of that stuff. Great, fantastic. First of all, good for you for coming to that conclusion. I encourage everyone to do that. But on the other side, 1 month is not fucking enough for you to do that if you don't already have the lifestyle implemented. So I reckon you at least need minimum 3-4 months, probably longer, 6 months, to really get into it, to really implement the lifestyle, because it's a lifestyle fucking change, because if you don't, that's how you end up with those fucking stupid slogans that some people say. I don't know if you heard this one. Why would you lose weight if you're going to put it back on anyway? It's the dumbest fucking thing I have ever heard. And that's because people just take shortcuts and do something short term without actually fixing their lifestyle properly. So I think there's like ways to it as well that I think as a coach, you've got more experience than I do as a coach, but in my style of how I do it, I think that there's ways of kind of like triaging it to kind of avoid those misunderstandings down the line as well.
Well, the thing is that can work under two circumstances. Number one is if you have so many clients that you just don't care, you can just automatically, when someone just acts like a dipshit, you can just replace them with another person, and hopefully that person is going to be more sensible. So that's one circumstance. The other circumstance is if coaching is not your main source of income. If it is, you're just not going to be able to refuse money all that easily. I think the first person I ever heard this was 5 or 6 years ago was Justin Harris. And he basically said, like, when someone asked him, like, what's his, like, clock in, clock out time for his job, and he said it's all the time, because I have like a couple of kids, and every single client is like a potential, like a pair of shoes for my kid, or maybe food on the plate, and you can't just reject that. So inevitably, when that is your full-time hustle, and you aren't like a mega celebrity where you can just like always like recycle clients, you're going to be forced to deal with people you wouldn't necessarily want to deal with. And that's kind of the issue with any passion which you start monetizing is that you will be forced to accept certain aspects of it which you normally would not want to do. So that, like, if you're in a black metal analogy, if you remember, Fender has never quit his job. He remained to be a mailman. Why? Well, because he never wanted Dark Throne to become an extremely successful thing, because that would mean that is his main source of income, and then he would be forced to make something which is Dark Throne. So there's always that aspect to it. So you gotta really figure out what you want to do. Like this way, when you're doing something else, and it's not something you're super passionate about, like it's just a job or it's just a project or whatever. So you're like, okay, that's fine. And now in my spare time, I can actually be devoted and work with the people that I really want to work with things I'm passionate about, and that is helping people get bigger, get stronger, lose body fat, etc. So it just all really depends how you do it, and kind of that thing, like people want to sign up for a month. That's exactly what I spoke about. Like the pool of people which would sign up for your coaching or my coaching like 6 months ago or a year, no, I'm sorry, not 6 months ago, but like 6 years ago or 10 years ago, would be people who are truly interested in this type of stuff, who are maybe already into it to a large degree. Nowadays, it's just something you try. So you try going to a gym for a month. Oh, well, I didn't look like C-Bum in a month. I'm going to quit. I'm gonna try to join a BJJ gym, and if I don't heel hook someone like Gordon Ryan within a month, I'm quitting. I'm gonna buy this cryptocurrency investment course, and if I don't make 6 million in like a month, oh well, I'm gonna quit. So that's a fundamental issue, is that now people just want to. They aren't really into that. They're into that because that's the part of the culture, which is, I suppose, good. But then you just get attracted to people who aren't really into that same thing as you would expect it to be.
Absolutely. Well, this is very true, and it's a scary thing, because it's, again, a symptom of the times, is that people have short attention spans, and everything they feel like they can recycle. Not only the examples that you made, which I think are absolutely spot on, but also people do the same with other people in relationships. They're like, oh yeah, I'll fuck this person for a month, and then, and then it just kind of fizzles out after a month, and then they replace him with someone else, and then that hole in their chest just grows deeper and darker as they go on. And it's like that with everything. People don't know how to commit to shit anymore, and then they wonder why they're not happy. I think that's very true, and it absolutely does apply to this. But I think part of that, then also, how do you fix that? And you can't maybe fix the whole system, but I think for our part, what you can do is just, at the very least, a cultural implementation, and also setting standards to begin with, and listen, like, if you really want to make a change, 4 weeks ain't gonna cut it. 3 months might help you, but even that's not gonna cut it. You need to dedicate basically the rest of your life to something if you want to get good at it. And I think this is the way most good things come. Like, if it was easy, then everyone would be fucking doing it. If it didn't take time, like even just being in a band. If being in a band was easy and you could get famous and rich or whatever, I think you can get famous, not sure about rich, from playing music, but especially this style of music. But even all of that, how many fucking hours of rehearsals, all the thousands and thousands of investments, everything that you have to pour into it just to get the smallest thing back, just to get a gig in front of 50 people who showed up just for your band. That in itself is a fucking big achievement that doesn't just happen because you decided to just play. No, you have to give yourself to it in order to get something back. And kind of goes back to the very Saturnalian nature of the world and the universe, and at least the matrix that we live in. It very much has this exchange-like aspect to it, that we exchange time for things and we exchange value, and only people who are, I think, ready and willing to commit can really master the game, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't thinking about it now. I don't know if I know a single thing which you do for a year and you become decent at. By the way, I'm having my definition of decent. Like learning how to play Smoke on the Water like by practicing your guitar in a year is not decent. So same thing, like benching 135 is not decent. So, but these are the results you can expect maybe in a year if you're just average. So generally speaking, kind of as you said, like people just want to try things out, and also they aren't truly actually interested in the results when you think about it. Like, because if you were, you'd kind of like you would know what the goal is. So like even if you suck at it, even if you dislike it, you'd still be doing it because, okay, we know what is at the end of the tunnel. Like I always give like this stupid analogy, but like I trained boxing for 3.5 years and I never liked it. Like that, I never liked it. I do not like boxing. Like, sure, like I might like getting like in a really good sparring session, or I might enjoy a certain aspect of it, but fundamentally speaking, for my personality, I just don't like boxing. That's not the martial art for me. I didn't like particularly the coach. I didn't like the gym, etc. But I kept at it for 3.5 years. I didn't miss sessions. I did everything right. I tried to improve it. I just didn't go there to show up because I knew that I needed it. So I think people are way too comfortable in only doing the things which they enjoy at the moment, and which gives a sense of satisfaction at the very instant. And this applies to everything. This applies to working out, learning how to play an instrument, maybe learning a new skill, like getting in a relationship. Oh, you don't like that person within a month? Fuck that person. So it's just a very flawed perspective. Like as I said, like you can't learn shit in a month, in 6 months, etc. So every relationship, for instance, which I was in, was always, like, fundamentally speaking, if it worked out, was always better at the later stages, because you get to actually learn that person. You can basically understand them. You can figure out how they click. Same thing about jiu-jitsu, same thing about boxing. The first time I actually started somewhat enjoying boxing when I was after like 3.5 years. And that's because, okay, I now get it. I can kind of understand why we're doing it. Like it just made sense in that moment, but you just got to devote time and effort into it. And that's just not going to come overnight, or after 6 months worth of nights. So, it takes time, and people are just not willing to devote any time. But here's the basically the cool thing about it: since most individuals are not really devoted, not really interested in devoting even a fragment of their time into anything, that means if you just are, you don't have to be particularly good at it. You can excel over most people in most aspects of life, simply because if you're persistent. Case in point, like, I sucked at boxing. Like I'm not a good striker, but after 3.5 years, like, pardon my French, but I could fuck up most people. Simply because they didn't stick to it. It was like they would train for 6 months and they would be off for 3 months, and they were consecutively. They might have more experience than me, but there just wasn't the time into it. Same thing about business. Same thing about lifting weights. Like I always give an example. Like I recently shared like a compilation of images when I started lifting weights. Like I never had good genetics. Like I always had wide hips. I always had like a short torso. My clavicle is short, so I never really had shit. Like I'm not really built to do anything physical to a great degree. But I just got stronger and built more muscle than more people, than majority of the individuals, simply because I outlasted it. It's not because I had more talent or because I had something ingrained in me. Fuck no, I didn't have shit. I just basically did it because I outlasted everyone. So that's the moral of the story. Like if you want to just excel above general population, you just gotta devote more time into them. And I can be pretty confident that if I just learned how to start playing the guitar, although I never tried it, I'd probably shit at that as well, because my coordination isn't something which I'm proud of. I'd probably just do it for like 10 years and I'd be like a pretty decent guitar player, at least compared to the general population. So I think that's how it is with anything. If you want to be better than anyone else, don't really worry about how it is now, how it's going to be like in 2 or 3 months. Just do it. Don't think about it. Don't even contemplate it. Just do it, and you're going to find yourself 5 years later and be like, oh, okay, I'm kind of okay with this.
Just do it. No, that's spot on, man. It reminds me of the story of the rabbit and the turtle. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the case. I think that's what a lot of people lack, or at least need to understand. When I was 119 kilos and had no fucking idea what my life was even going to look like, I envisioned, I had a picture in my head of, me stood there with abs. And that was like an absurd thing to even fucking think about. Like it's fucking crazy. It's like it's the equivalent of being someone in the slums imagining $1 million in their bank. That's basically what it is. And you know what? Maybe I ought to apply the same mentality in other areas of my life too. But which I actually do to an extent. But I think that it was it's funny because. It seemed crazy, but I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I can just to make that happen, just to make sure that I get there. And within six years, I think. Yeah, I did it. Because I did the photo shoot last June, when I did the cut, and I managed to go down to 75 kilos, 75, 76. And then I'm stood there with my fucking abs out. There you fucking go.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something that takes time, takes education, of course, and then takes appliance. But then what I think of is, holy shit, what am I going to look like on the 10-year anniversary of me going to the gym in 2027? You know, and then it just keeps on getting better and keeps on getting better. But like anything, you're going to have to devote yourself, and you got to choose what you devote yourself to as well. Like you can get really good at, I don't know, fucking gambling. Is that something that you really want to be good at? You can get really good at sexting or random girls on Tinder. Is that something you want to devote your life to? Because you can build skill at anything as well, but it's like how much of that relates to the legacy that you want to build in this life, and how do you want to go about it? And then when they talk about generational wealth, I don't even think that's necessarily something that's just applying to finances, although of course that's a huge part of it. But that is, as far as I'm concerned, that's about habits, and then passing down habits that can lead you to be a winner at life.
Well, I mean, I forgot who said this, but I've heard it recently, and it's absolutely genius. And that is like, you shouldn't become a millionaire until you're ready to not even care about being a millionaire. So you shouldn't even, you don't deserve the abs until you're at the point where you don't even care about the abs. Now, why do I say that? And it goes back to that tangent about generational wealth. What happens to people when they inherit a lot of money?
They fuck it up every time.
Exactly, because they're not ready for that money. Same thing. Like if I gave the next person down the street abs, like in like a snap of a finger, he would look like Chris Bumstead. What would happen with his life? Like I would give him like 6 months and he would fuck it up. So the same thing can be applied about anything. You're just not ready for it. You're not ready for that lifestyle. You're not ready for the obligations which that entails. You're not ready for the money, for the fame, for anything else, because you fuck your life up that way. Like I always give that. It's like a stupid analogy, but it's really true. If you remember, like a couple of years ago when Tiger Woods got busted because he liked the company of Playboy girls and whatever, and it's like. Everyone's like, oh, he has a wife and kids. How could he have done that? Like, when was the last time you were in a company of a Playboy girl? like you cannot reject something which you never had. So sure, you can shit on Tiger Woods because he banged a Playboy girl when he had like a wife and kids. And then I'm not saying that's a cool thing which he did. I think that's repulsive. But I mean, saying it with such arrogance, as if you would pretend, as if you'd be somewhat better. It's silly, because chances are you wouldn't. Like statistically speaking, you wouldn't. Like you can only reject something if you had it. You can only say, hey, that guy is a piece of shit, because I was in those situations 10 times and I never acted upon my maybe urges or whatever. So same thing can be said, like, oh, this guy has like a lot of money or whatever. Like he inherited a lot of money and he's now flashing his car and whatever. Sure, that guy inherited a lot of money. But he's not hooked on fentanyl or crack, or he didn't spend all of his money like gambling or whatever. He didn't get AIDS like from whatever. because he just had all of the money at his disposal. Like, chances are, if you had his resources, whatever the resource is, you'd fuck up your life. So that's the same thing. For instance, I got in shape, like really got in shape in 2019, 2020. We're now in 2024. I never got out of shape.
Mm-hmm.
When I prepped for my powerlifting competition, I purposely gained, 8 or 9 kilos. So that's give or take 20 pounds. So I obviously got a little fluffier. I still had some abs because I'm always going to have abs.
And there's probably a lot of water in that as well.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I got fat. Like, I could see it. Like, I got it in my love handles and my lower back area, whatever.
Sure.
But that's the only time where I kind of got out of shape, and that was for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as that powerlifting competition ended, I dieted back, got in shape, abs, veins, everything else. So why do I say that? I don't have to worry about my diet or my nutrition or thinking about my accountability or discipline, because I know I have that in me. Like, I'm going to be in shape no matter what happens. Like, no matter how stressful my life is. Like, when I had the most stressful period in my life ever, when like people were dying left and right and people were in the hospital and a lot of financial instability and whatever, I was still in shape. Like, that wasn't like recently when I went through some shit, I did not miss a single gym session. I did not go and like somber my entire life. Like, no, like this is just a part of my personality, which isn't going to change no matter what the circumstances are. And that's kind of how you want to become in life in general. Like, sure, you want to make a ton of money, you want to be successful, you even maybe want to be famous, but are you kind of ready for that? And if chances are you're not, and if you got that tomorrow, you'd fuck up your life. So it's kind of like you just gotta pick. You just gotta pick how you're gonna basically behave and how that's gonna affect your life in one way or another. And I think just most people are not ready for it, and that's why they don't have it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And by the way, you said you went through some shit recently. Are you doing okay now?
Oh yeah, I got my entire leg tattooed and get my lower stomach tattooed. I'm making money. I mean, life is cool.
There you go.
I don't allow shit to affect me negatively. Like, I give myself enough time to process it. It's like, okay, this happened, but as I said, like, Saint Peter from the heavens can come down upon me and basically say that you should feel shitty or whatever. Or maybe you should start drinking, or maybe you should start doing drugs. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
that ain't gonna change. So that's again, I think that's actually a very useful thing actually to have, that when you know yourself as well as I know myself, you don't have to, you don't have to contemplate and overthink every single situation which you're gonna find yourself in. Meaning, as I said, like, if tomorrow something horrible happens to me, I'm probably still gonna be in shape. I'm still probably gonna be lifting weights because I was in those situations, so I know how it feels. Obviously, this wouldn't be a Darko and Cheyenne podcast if we didn't throw gay jokes around. So it's like, I'm so
Thanks.
comfortable. So jokes aside, they aren't aside. But as an example, like, people always like make fun of me because I'm training in jiu-jitsu, and I always say how it's super gay and whatever. It's like it's actually more gay than being like gay.
Yeah.
and I love
Sure.
throwing that around. The reason why I mention all of that is that I'm so comfortable with my sexuality that I do not care about that. Like, a dude can fucking walk out. Like that does not affect me. So in the same light, I'm so comfortable with my own personality, and I know who I am, that I know that, like, if you put like a billion things in front of me, I'm just gonna say no, because that's who I am, and because I know myself. But like the average person, can they actually do that? And I'm not saying that I'm like that with everything else, because we all have our strengths and weaknesses. But like, when it comes to like discipline about eating and training and treating people right, I'm just know how I'm going to behave. And I think once you have all of that, the results naturally are going to come. So because you aren't preoccupied with them, they just become, because they're a natural circumstance of the lifestyle which you lead.
The 100%, man. Absolutely. And this is, and I relate to this 100% too, because, this is something that I kind of, it dawned on me about 2-3 years ago, because there were like a few things in my life where I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to stay away from this. But then every now and then I would kind of like edge back into it. And every time I did, by the way, drinking was one of them. Yep. Every time I went back to it, even though the amount was small, the results were catastrophic. Yeah. Right? I literally had one bottle of beer one time, about, like this was not long, like just a few months before I fully quit. And that one bottle of beer ended up being severely costly to me. Now, without going into too much of the details, I, from there, realized, you know what? When I say I'm going to stick to something, it's almost like, because I have a unique relationship with these things, and obviously, I have my own superstitions, but I genuinely believe that when you make a decision, when you say something out loud, the universe is fucking listening to you, and then it will respond to you accordingly based on what you said, the promise that you made. And you can't, and this is why words are very important, and what you say, you need to watch what you say. And then to me, I was like, you know what? I can clearly see that every time I'm breaking my promises, even though it's on such a short scale, it's being catastrophic. Maybe life is trying to tell me that I ought to be an extremist in the decisions that I make, and then I got to stick to it. And I did exactly that. And now, flash forward, 3 years later, I'm in this position where, like you said, exactly, I've got full autonomy over my choices on the things that I do. And temptation, even though with certain things might be there, the existence of it is not a problem, because ultimately it's down to my decision making. And my decision making is that I'm not going to go towards it because I know what I've got and I know what goals I've got, and the temptation is not compatible with my goals. And this is why, despite the fact that Trivex plays shows, obviously, we play in different places. We just fucking played Italy with Marduk and Darvaza, which was the fucking coolest thing ever. Not a single drop of fucking alcohol. And I'm proud of that. That's actually, the fact that I defy against everyone else around me, and I'm the one who doesn't drink, I thrive on actually being different. I thrive on saying no when people say, oh, let's just have one on us tonight. No, fuck you. I'm never going to drink again. I've set my standard, and that obviously applies to other things as well, with diet and with training. These are non-negotiables for me. There's nothing you can do or say that will convince me otherwise. And I think it's important, as a man especially, that when you set your mind to something, when you make that decision, that switch flick, then there's no going back, and that you're able to stick to it. And then the more that you do that, the more wins that you get under your belt, the more confidence you have to then say no to those things. You know what I'm saying? It's a powerful thing.
Exactly. It's the power of saying no. I mean, it completely aligns with what I mentioned a couple of moments ago, and that is that you are comfortable with your own personality, like being able to do BJJ without questioning your sexuality, because your sexuality. Same thing is here. Your personality. It doesn't matter if everyone else is drinking or doing whatever else. You're not going to partake in it. And kind of as you said, like being able to actually just say no, and being able to say no with such ferocity and with such ease that it doesn't even touch you whatsoever. That builds, as you said, confidence. And because now at that point you can kind of approach life in a bit of a different angle, where you don't really have to, where you view yourself differently, in the sense maybe 5 years ago maybe I would have said yes, but now I was able to say no without flinching. And that means something, because it means that I've developed as a person. Now that means that my own self-worth is bigger because I respect myself more. And I think that when you start breaking your own promises, you lose respect, not because of others. You lose respect of others indirectly. You lose self-respect, because if you are even able to respect your own word and what you say to yourself, that you truly know what that means to you and how important that is to you, why should anyone else respect you? So it's the same thing. I was actually recently, kind of funny you mentioned it, recently, because of some changes in my life, I was kind of put in some situations which I wasn't in years ago. And it was kind of interesting. Like everything was like a completely new experience to me. And now you think like, okay, maybe like this is going to be the perfect circumstance where this person is going to break. But when you actually realize, no, this doesn't really fathom me. Like I don't really care. Like, sure, I maybe haven't had these experiences in a couple of years, but like I'm not getting back to it because at least for me, subconsciously, I don't want to be the person that I was maybe 10 years ago. I want to be the person that I will be in 10 years. And the person that I will be in 10 years is going to be aligned with the person who I am now. And I know that outcome, and I'm not going back. So once you actually have that confidence, and once you actually know yourself that much, you can actually you can approach harder and more meaningful tasks, which with a significant degree of calmity and ease.
Absolutely, man. Fuck yeah. Wise words, brother. Wise words. And Darko, man, it's a real blast having you on this podcast, man. It's always a pleasure. I have a feeling what we've just done now might have actually been my favorite that you and I have recorded together so far. Yeah, amazing. So whilst we kind of wrap this one up, anything you want people to keep an eye out for? Anything you want them to do? Any kind of plugs or anything?
No,
don't care.
I'm not telling anything. I'm not telling anything. Like, get off social media. That's what I'm gonna tell you. Now, jokes aside, I mean, there are obviously still cool people to follow. There are obviously people who are doing great things. I don't know. I just kind of like the best thing that I can like have a little bit of know your worth, but also have a period of self-reflection. Don't pretend as if you know everything. Don't pretend as if you have all the answers in the universe, and don't also think that you have to have a strong opinion on every subject under the sun. I think we're living in that climate where we all have to have an opinion about everything. There is just this magical word that says, "I do care." I don't care and no. Like, what are your thoughts about this? I don't care. Do you want to do this? No. And that like brings a lot of, as we touched on recently, power and self-respect, and just like do something for yourself, like which you don't have to pretend to be someone else or to fall under some umbrella of ideas just because of X, Y, and Z. So I guess that's what I could say. Obviously, I'm still offering coaching services. Funny enough, like I got 2 people just signing up today. So even though I wasn't posting shit, like I guess people still know me, so there's that. But yeah, we're gonna see. I don't know. I don't plan on getting off social media. Like, well, obviously everything that I said a couple of moments ago, but I don't think I'm planning on going off social media, at least not yet. But I'm definitely gonna start using social media more because when I enjoy it. Like the same thing with clients. I'm gonna coach people that I want to coach. I'm gonna post on social media when I want it, and what I find that I want to post, not what I to post. And there's a great deal of liberty in that, and power and everything else. So hopefully everyone else can kind of have a similar aspect in their own life. Maybe not with social media, maybe with something else. It truly is rewarding and refreshing.
Surely. There we go. Well, we have it here, ladies and gentlemen. Darko, thank you so much again, brother. And you know what? Hopefully sometime when, maybe next year, if Trivex gets the chance to come to Serbia, I want to fucking train with you in person, okay?
Definitely.
We need to do that. Yes.
yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. We need to put like a bench press on the stage. So like as the riffs, we can also rep some reps.
That sounds absolutely perfect. Makes for some good pictures afterwards when you got a decent pump. Exactly. Yes. Amazing, man. Well, you look after yourself. And to everyone else listening to the podcast so far, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of Iblis Manifestations.